So my name is Matthew Pinsker. I teach at Dickinson College, and in my Civil War class, we opened the semester by looking at this image. This is a detail of a group of black soldiers, the men of Company E of the 4th United States Colored Infantry. I asked my students to begin the semester by looking at this image because if you look at these men, and I've numbered some of them 1 through 6, I think they provide an imaginative gateway into what the Civil War was all about. If I had to pick one image that would represent the revolutionary transformation that the war brought, it might be this one. So I asked the students to think, what was figure number 1 imagining or feeling at that time that the camera took his picture? What was figure number 2 imagining? What was figure number 3 thinking? What was figure number 4 experiencing? What was he worried about? What was figure number 5 pondering? What was figure number 6 scared of? These are the emotions that jump out at you from these figures, and I don't think that's an accident. And the reason why this is a good opening exercise for students is because it shows them that these are men with lives and experiences and emotions. And the story of the Civil War is often a story about trying to recover the individuality of these figures that we sometimes oversimplify as North versus South, blue versus gray, black versus white. And instead, when you think about them as individuals, you get an array of ideas about how they perceive the great changes before them. What you find out about these men is that they were part of Company E. This picture was taken in front of Fort Lincoln outside the District of Columbia. There was a time when people were unsure about the dating of this image, but if you look carefully, and there have been researchers recently who have discovered that printed on the reverse of the glass negative is an entry that notes this as Company E of the 4th U.S. Colored Troops, Fort Lincoln, November 17, 1865. When you realize that this is November 17, 1865, it adds a whole other dimension to how you approach the image. These are black men who have served in the Union Army during the Civil War, a war that is now over. If any of them are scared, anxious, or thoughtful, it's not because they're worried about what might happen to them in combat, but because they're concerned about what might happen to them in freedom. What is their life going to be like now that they are citizens of the country? What does citizenship mean? Does it promote the idea of equality? There are certainly great successes they can now enjoy. One of the men, figure number 1, is wearing a wedding ring. Now, we don't know for sure, at least at this point I don't know, whether he was born free or born enslaved. I don't know his name. But I do know that for some of these men, and about half of the 180,000 black men who served in the Union Army were former slaves, that for some of those men, the ability to legally marry and reunite their families after slavery was the most profound transformation the war represented. For some of the other men, the ability to serve their country and to recapture their dignity was the most profound transformation. And for others, you know, the fight for equality was still yet to be the great fight of their lives, a fight that some of them would not live to see fully realized. Of course, as everybody knows, a fight that would not be fully realized in many ways for generations to come. That's why this picture, I think, captures so much in such a short space, and why it represents an imaginative gateway into the central issues of the Civil War.